Sup YouTube, it's TCG here, and welcome back to another TCG video on my channel. On this channel you get tons of Pokemon TCG content, so be sure to hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel so you don't miss a single upload. We're going to be playing the 2024-2025 season very shortly. Of course, a lot of regionals will happen very soon, and most of them will be in the Stellar Crown format. And we have already taken a look at a lot of stuff from Japan, and it seems like Raging Bolt is winning almost every single city league there is. 1/3 is won by Raging Bolt, and today we're going to be talking about Raging Bolt, why it got better with the Stellar Crown format, and why I personally think that over in the West, it will downsize a little bit in popularity. So without further ado, we're going to be talking about all of this. And also, before we dive actually into all these numbers, we're going to be giving a huge shout out to Jake Gearhart for providing this pie chart. We're going to be giving a huge shout out to OmniPoke, more in particularly Joe Bernard, for some additional data, or actually data as well, that we're going to be using in this video. So hopefully you guys are excited. If you are, let me know by rocking the hell out of the like button. And if you have any other suggestions, feel free to let me know down below in the comments so we can get a discussion started. So now let's look at some data, shall we? So Stellar Crown does not shake up the meta all too much. We know we get in the Terrapogus EX, and we get the Noctowl engine in combination with Fan Rotom, Bouffalant, and a couple of powerful cards that work with Terra Pokemon, more in particularly Briar, which is a very powerful supporter card that if the opponent is at exactly 2 prize cards remaining, you take an additional prize card when you knock something out with your Terra Pokemon. There's the Trumpet, allowing you to accelerate to colorless Pokemon if you have a Terra Pokemon in play. There is the Zero Area Underdepth Stadium card that allows you to have up to 8 bench Pokemon if you have a Terra Pokemon in play. So lots of stuff to do with Terra. So how does that impact Raging Bolt? Well, we're going to be seeing that and a couple of decklists as well in this video. We see here, this is based on the Japanese city leagues. They have recently started up again, actually last weekend, and this is the data from the first weekend. We see here that the Raging Bull deck is 1/3 of the meta, and that's actually only counting the winning deck. So yeah, city leagues are very similar to League Cups over in the West, and they're typically with 64 players over in Japan. So we see here, why is it better to be playing Raging Bolt in Japan, you ask? Well, first of all, they are always playing best of 1 because the game is created for best of 1. That means that a deck that can attack on the very first turn going second can also accumulate to a lot of donking capabilities. If the opponent has a slower start in a best of 1 series, Raging Bolt instantly punishes that. Also, if you go first, you can set your board up with tons of energies thanks to the Ogerpon and prepare yourself for an attachment and gusting afterwards. So Raging Bolt has the best aspects of both worlds, definitely in a best of 1 format. Closely followed it up is going to be the Pidgeot Charizard deck, and the Pidgeot Charizard deck also gains Briar, which is actually that new supporter allowing you to take an additional prize card with your Terra Pokemon if the opponent is at exactly 2 prize cards remaining. So very cool indeed. And the same goes for Dragapult Pidgeot, but the Dragapult also gains Sparkling Crystal Ace-Pack card, a tool card allowing you to actually need 1 energy less to attack with Dragapult EX, which is a Terra Pokemon. So that's super cool indeed. So a couple of cards help these powerful stage 2 decks out. We see that Pidgeot is going to be the main partner for Charizard as well as Dragapult, because getting any card you want from the deck is very powerful. Both of the Dragapult and the Charizard list mostly also play the Radiant Charizard, which is a fantastic beat stick. And that's why they have a little bit of an answer up against the Raging Bull, which is slowly but steadily dominating the Stellar Crown format. I also should note is that Palkia V-Star also has returned to the format, but has not made a dent in the format quite yet. Maybe over in the West we can have some better deck building going around so we can put it all the way to the top tables, but for now it is actually on the low end of B, it seems, here over in Japan. So we're also going to be checking out the top 16 deck list to have a little bit of a bigger spectrum of what the best decks in the format are. But for now, let's focus on the rest of this pie chart. Gardevoir seemingly is back. We talked about it in a previous video before. Gardevoir is a solid deck and is one of the few decks that has a very favorable matchup up against Raging Bolt. And that's going to be helping out a ton. And that's also the reason why Gardevoir came back. Raging Bolt has a very favorable Regidrago matchup. And at the World Championships over in Honolulu, Hawaii, the Regidraco V-Star deck was literally everywhere. I saw a ton of them as well, meaning that if you have a bad matchup against Raging Bolt, which is like super popular right now with a high win rate, automatically the Regidraco decks go down in popularity, meaning God of War comes back. You see how the meta always continuously flows like that. So I'm very glad to see a pie chart like this, because that does indicate that stage 2s are good, and I always love playing in the formats where stage 2s are great. We see here, Gardevoir is a stage 2, Dragapult is a stage 2, Charizard is a stage 2, and it seems like Raging Bolt can take all of them. I'm going to be talking about more in detail about which specific cards help out Raging Bolt a lot. Moving on here, we still see Snorlax Block being around, and Snorlax Block comes back with the Mimikyus, which sometimes the Raging Bolt players cannot deal with. If a Snorlax Block player is able to use Accompanying Flute like a couple of turns in the early game of in the early phase of the game, out of nowhere, they can make sure the opponent has a full bench. And if the opponent has a full bench and not slap down something that can answer Mimikyu, they instantly win. You see where this could go wrong, right? Like, also Cornerstone Ogerpon EX is one of the cards that is in the Snorlax Block deck, which completely shuts off the Charizard deck, because you're completely immune from Pokemon that attack you that have an ability. Super cool indeed. So Snorlax Block playing together with Cornerstone Ogerpon EX as well as Mimikyu. I did see that at the World Championships, which is very scary, but I was able to beat it in the end. So there was that. Snorlax Block still around. Roaring Moon, the runner-up deck over at the World Championships, is still around. Lugia still around. If we group those together, that's actually 8%, so that's still going to be in that high B or A category. Then a little bit of Chimpao, Ancient Box, and that's about it, to be honest. So that is the winning decks from those City League tournaments over in Japan. Moving forward, let's see what happens if we just not calculate the winners, but also the top 16 placement. What happens to the pie chart then? Yeah, it makes sense that Raging Bolt loses a little bit of its meta share, but just note down is that Raging Bolt actually was able to get like 1/3 of all the victories. So that's why we're making this video, right? That's why you clicked on here. You want to have some analysis, you want to have some data, and that's what the channel is all about. We see the same decks, to be honest. Raging Bolt, Charizard, Dragapult. It seems to be a meta that these will be lifted up as the tier S decks. In my tier list prediction, I was correct with Dragapult, Charizard, but Raging Bolt, it comes out of nowhere as a surprise to me, being that good. Gardevoir also sticking around, Raging Bolt, Lugia, actually not Raging Bolt, Regidraco V-Star and Lugia. So these will probably be the tier A/tier S decks. If you pick any of these decks at your upcoming regionals with Stellar Crown being legal, the first one for me will be Dortmund regionals. You cannot do it wrong if you learn your matchups correctly. Other than that, what else do we see in the top 16? Sometimes a little bit of Iron Torrents glimpses in there and slithers in there. And there's also Palkia, V-Star, whether you're going to be playing with Dusknoir, Noctowl, or both, slithers in there. And Miraidon dropped down significantly in these tournaments. That does make sense because Raging Bolt has a better Miraidon matchup. Maybe Miraidon will need to be playing 2 copies of Zapdos or Zapdos and a Vitality Band to stand a chance up against Raging Bolt. With Raging Bolt with a Bravery Charm just automatically evaporates a Miraidon deck completely. We also see some regular Snorlax blocks without the Cornerstone package in there. And Lost Box also seems to be still sometimes doing a little bit well. But the meta is clear. Raging Bolt, #1 deck, followed up closely by Charizard and Dragapult. Then the tier below that will be Gardevoir, Regidraco V-Star, Lugia, and then Roaring Moon. And everything beneath that, like Miraidon, Iron Torrents, Snorlax, Palkia, they're all great decks. Iron Torrents as well, but they're going to be the B category, and all the rest go in tier C, in my opinion, if we take a look at these exact numbers. Big shout out again to Jake Gearhart for fetching me up with this data. With that being said, now we're going to be giving a huge shout out to Joe Bernard, giving us this exact, how do we say it, a chart where we can see the things that I recently talked about here. You do see that with Surging Sparks, not a lot will change either way. That means this is going to be having the Cerulege EX as a new meta archetype, but only slides in the tier B category. And that does mean that we're going to be in this format for probably half a year, where the tier list will not change too much. So pick a deck you see on tier A and S or make something that can beat it. If you're playing a tier B deck, practice your matchups and make sure you can beat the tier S and the tier A decks, and you're going to be doing well at tournaments. Occasionally, we do see sometimes Dialga V-Star winning tournaments out of nowhere because people didn't expect it and they practiced out the matchups. So very interesting to see this stellar crown format. Now let's take a look at some decks for Raging Bolt, and I'm gonna explain here why they actually became better, right? So pretty much here in this situation, we see a couple of new cards. We see Noctowl, Fan Rotom, and also the Zero Area Underdepth Stadium card. As mentioned, the Stadium card allows you to have up to 8 bench Pokemon if you have a Terra Pokemon in play. Teal Mask Ogerpon EX is a Terra Pokemon, meaning that you can now go really wide on your board because you're gonna have up to 8 bench Pokemon. Twisted side about this is that if you have 8 bench Pokemon and the opponent overlaps your Stadium card, you can then discard your resources that you don't need anymore. Think about a Fan Rotom. Even though the Fan Rotom is also a way you can knock out a Mimikyu, by the way. So that's being said, if there's a Stadium card in play, the Fan Rotom slaps 70 damage. How cool is that? On top of that, we're also coming back with Noctowl. Noctowl is going to be a Pokemon. If there is a Terra Pokemon in play, you can get yourself 2 trainer cards instantly from the deck. This is very powerful because once you set up a Hoot Hoot, they're not going to be going down after your Hoot Hoot because Raging Bolt is a threat, right? It's going to be able to Sawda, Teal Mask, Attachment, boom, blow up on everything, right? And that's why Noctowl can help out with that. You're going to be able to be protected from Iono, Unfair Stamp, on top of having a Phasandipity. So Phasandipity draws 3 cards, you evolve into Noctowl, you get any 2 trainer cards. Prime Catcher, Sawda combos, it is all possible with a list like this. And that's why I think, the deck gains consistency. Not only that, you get Crispin. Crispin is going to be your 5th Sawda because that allows you to accelerate a basic energy from your deck to one of your Pokemon. It can also become something else, by the way. You can attach to something in the active as well. Doesn't matter. And then it also doesn't need to be an ancient Pokemon. That means Crispin can also work for Teal Dance, for Teal Mask Ogerpon. So I was not finished. You can accelerate an energy to one of your Pokemon, and then you can also get yourself another type of basic energy and put it in hand. Since you're playing 3 different types of basic energies, this is going to be quite the combo. As a 5th Sawda is going to be very great indeed. That's one of the ways people are playing in Japan. It's also a winning list, by the way, to have an adapted way to be playing with this list. As you see, Raging Bolt doesn't have any issues with those big, powerful Stage 2 Pokemon. We're going to be thinking about Charizard. Well, either you knock it out with a Raging Bolt with the Bellowing Thunder, or you go for the Teal Mask Ogerpon to hit for weakness. You're not that weak again against Iono anymore. This list also comes back with Luminia, with Phasandipity, with the Noctowl, with Radiant Greninja. You can draw yourself out of an Iono in no time because on top of that, you also come back with the Teal Mask Ogerpons to then draw yourself back up. The cool thing is why Raging Bolt is that good is that you actually have no weakness at all, and you have a whopping 240 HP as a basic Pokemon. And if you are bricking, you have that first attack, the Burst Roar, allowing you to discard your hand and draw 6. And that's why it is getting better. It was already better at the World Championships as it had a great matchup against stuff like Regidrago V-Star. And I think not only Phasandipity puts it a tier higher, but now with all these additional tools and supporters and stadiums and even the Noctowl package, you put it up a little bit higher. But that's not where the fun ends because this is only one way to be playing Raging Bolt. The following version is going to be focusing more on the consistency about it all and not playing the Noctowl engine, but instead going for the Pokegears. These Pokegears will gonna be able to grab yourself Sala as we come to know and love. You have access to the Phasandipity and 2 copies of the Night Stretcher, which were inclusions from Shrouded Fable, allowing you to get consistency in the late game as well. Also, with Raging Bolt being able to draw almost half of the deck on the very first turn of the game, finding Prime Catcher or a regular Pokemon Catcher being heads can be detrimental for the opponent. They can actually scoop on the spot because I've seen a lot of situations where they have Charmander, Pidgey, and then Rotom, and then they go for Instant Charge, and then you say like, Charmander on the bench, let's go, Pokemon Catcher, boom, knock it out. You buy yourself an additional turn and you win that quickly. That's how it is. With a lot of consistency by your side, having Teal Dance to draw cards, Radiant Greninja with the concealed cards to draw cards, on top of Squawkabilly, Pokegear, Pokestop, you name it, you're going to be getting a lot of cards. But that's not where the fun ends. This is just regular Raging Bolt Teal Mask, which did well at Worlds, but this is coming back with Briar And Briar is a supporter card, as already mentioned. If the opponent is at exactly 2 prize cards remaining, you can use the effect of this one, and then your Terra Pokemon this turn take an additional prize card when you knock something out. What can this mean is that if the opponent just says, I'm going to be playing the 1 prize game, right? So sometimes if you're up against Charizard, it could come with that, and they will force a situation where there's only like 1 prize on the field and they have Radiant, Charizard, and that's it. Well, in that situation, you can then go for, Briar. You slap down Briar. Oh, Radiant Zard just knocked out one of their Pokemon. They go from 4 prizes to 2. There's only 1 prize on the field. How can I possibly win? And that's where the stuff becomes interesting to say. We have Briar, and that means you just power up an Ogerpon, which is a Terra Pokemon. With the Ogerpon, you knock out the Radiant Zard, and boom, out of nowhere, you take an additional prize card. You take 2 prize cards. You can go even further with that because, the Briar card is just that good. Let's just open Briar here. During this turn, if your opponent's active Pokemon is knocked out by damage from an attack used by your Terra Pokemon, take 1 prize card. You can only use it when the opponent has exactly 2 prize cards remaining, so you have to time it perfectly. But with lists like this, coming packed with Palpat, you're going to be able to tin your deck out perfectly, and in the late game Palpat in the Briar if need be, or maybe the Briar is still part of the deck, and now with Pokegear you find that quite quickly, meaning you can turn the tables on 1 prize situations. Very cool indeed. There's even the Iron Bundle, which can force... Oh, I cannot knock out a big Pokemon in the active. Iron Bundle, they provide you with a weaker Pokemon. Briar, boom, you knock it out. How cool is that? The combination Iron Bundle and Briar is great. Another thing you could do with Briar is actually playing against Charizard, for example. You go second, you knock out a Charmander. There you go, you take a 1 prize card. They come with Zard, they slap your Raging Bolt out of Oblivion, then you knock out a Zard and take 2 prize cards. Then they knock you out again, they go from 4 to 2 as mentioned. And then out of nowhere, how do you take your last 3 prize cards, right? If it's a Charizard EX in the active, you can use Briar, Teal Mask Ogerpon, and boom, you take your last 3 prize cards by knocking out the Charizard EX. So Briar can help force crazy situations to take that additional prize card. I can give you another example. If you're up against something like a Miraidon and they go very crazy and you just need 3 more prize cards, for example, you can maybe knock out an Iron Hands EX with your Teal Mask Ogerpon to take 3 prize cards. That's how funky it can go sometimes. So Briar helping out, taking additional prize cards, and that's also a reason why, Raging Bolt is good. If you're not a fan of Raging Bolt quite yet, you will be convinced, mark my words. Another list we see here is going to be very similar, but another new card is shown here, and that's going to be the 1 prize Raging Bolt. The 1 prize Raging Bolt is very interesting as it comes back with an attack stating that you can snipe 60, not 60, but most of the times it will be 60. It states here, this attack does 30 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon for every energy attached to this Pokemon. How cool is this? Sometimes this can mean that you can charge up. That's also the reason why there's 1 E-switch in here. Sometimes that can be creating situations, high-rolling situations, mind my words. It's like you go second, Sawdon, attach of the turn, Till Dance, E-switch to my 1 prize Raging Bolt, and out of nowhere Raging Bolt is able to snipe 90 damage to sometimes maybe the only Charmander, the only Dreepy, you name it, in play. Very cool indeed, right? Because that's gonna help you out to get the 90 snipes. 90 snipes is just kind of crazy. It just goes crazier from there on out because you can just Sawdon onto your active Raging Bolt EX and onto your 1 prize Raging Bolt. Save the energies right there because you don't always need to discard energies from that one, and save it as a late game snipe effect that is going to be punished if the opponent is not slapping down Manaphy. So another new card introduced for Raging Bolt. So if we cap it all together here, Raging Bolt gains a lot of new stuff. You gain the 1 prize Raging Bolt as an option. Not only can this be great on your very first turn going second to knock out the only weak HP Pokemon the opponent has, it can be a nice way you can promote a 1 prizer to attack with, and the 1 prizer can also deal with Mimikyu. We've seen a lot of ways to deal with Mimikyu, whether it's the 1 prize Sandy Shocks, whether it is going to be the Fan Rotom, but now also the 1 prize Raging Bolt. What else is new for the Raging Bolt? We see Crispin as going to be a way to accelerate an additional energy. Could be your 5th Sada to say. And then there's Briar. Taking additional prize cards with a deck like this is very great. I know Teal Mask becomes your attacker that way because the Briar actually states that you need to knock out something with your Terra Pokemon. So Raging Bolt cannot make use of that. It's not a Terra Pokemon. It's just an ancient Pokemon. What else for the little recap here can we talk about is going to be, so we talked about Briar, we talked about the one prize, Raging Bolt, the Noctowl engine and the Zero Area Underdepth Stadium card. Also, we're going to be turning into a format where people might try out and experiment with Zero Area Underdepth, and that's going to mean that you instantly have access to your entire bench of 8 because you always have a Terra Pokemon in play, meaning the Teal Mask Ogerpon EX. So yeah, if you guys are not convinced quite yet, you can go either for the Noctowl package, the Pokegear package. It is all about deck building, but the main thing is clear, right? We can all conclude here is that Raging Bolt has won 1/3 of all the Japanese city leagues so far, and that is going to be the data I'm giving you guys. Take from it what you will, but it is going to be one of the archetypes to beat in the next format. So if you're a Gardevoir believer, Gardevoir is now a solid pick once again because you can do a lot of stuff right there. You can beat Dragapult, you can beat Raging Bolt. There's stuff that can happen. The format always goes like this, and I'm very curious to see what will happen at Dortmund Regionals. Have yourself a fantastic rest of your day, and if you enjoyed the video, be sure to send it over to all your friends, your family, so they know that Raging Bolt will be the hype. Subscribe for more content, and if you like what you see, feel free to leave a like. It only requires 1 tiny second every time and helps out the channel tremendously. Also, go check out the sponsors. They are definitely what make the videos possible. We have Dragon Shield. If you're looking for sleeves, binders, and deck boxes, you can get 5% off using the coupon ZABLOS5. Stock up on new product for the new season. There's PotownStore.com for your TCG Live code card needs. Use the coupon ZABLOSTCG for 5% off. YourPlaymat.com to create your own unique custom playmat. And CARDMARKET.com, last but not least, for European players where you're able to buy and sell cards to people all across Europe. Use the referral name ZABLOSTCG to help support the channel. And with that, have a fantastic day and let's Raging Bolt everyone in the next format. Peace!